Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to present to you your hosts, Spencer and Lara Williams.
Hello everyone, I'm Spencer.
I'm Lara, and we're married to board games. In this Kickstarter preview, we have the privilege of taking a look at Before the Earth Explodes, a two-player only science fiction game from Green Couch Games.
Many two-player games focus on working together with your partner to solve a problem, while others pit you against the other player in a head-to-head battle or race to the finish.
Well, we'll tell you where this game lies on that spectrum, but first, let's head over to the table and see what it takes to save humanity before the Earth explodes.
Alright, so first keep in mind that this is a Kickstarter preview, so these are not final components. Secondly, I'm going to go over this kind of in the way that the game works, a little bit of overview of gameplay, and as I get to each step, I'll introduce the components where they fit in. The first thing that's going to happen on a turn is each player has their hand of action cards. They each have a letter on them, and then they're going to have an action on it. First, this on the A card, for example, this means if you play the card, you're going to get a ship. Then if the other player plays the B card, you cancel their action, and then you can attack them. And then following that, this means you can go up on your technology track. I'll show you that here in a second. But there are 4 of those, each with different things. B means if the other player plays a C card or D card, it's the same thing happens on the A card. That action is canceled, and then you deal damage to that player. And then you can immediately do the action on the C or D card. For the C, the action is you get to colonize a planet at a cost of -2. And then the D card is if the other player plays the A card, you cancel it out, do damage to them, and then you can pick up some resources. Both players have the same cards, so there's no difference there. I've been talking about dealing damage and going up on the technology track. That's this card over here. There's a 7, 1 through 7. So as you go up in technology, you'll move up on the track. And then as you take damage, you will also move up on the track. Now, the base goal is if one player gets to a 7, they win the game, or if your opponent gets to 7 damage, you win the game. So that's 2 ways to win. I'll get to some more here in just a second. After you play those action cards, you can resolve them. So, for example, if you played that A card, you're going to be able to get a ship. You can take any one of the ships that are down there, and when you take them, you immediately do the action. So, for example, if you take the Gray Merchant, you get to go up 1 on your technology track, and then you get to gain the Gray Resource. Over here is the resource pile. There are 3 different cards. Each one has 3 spots for resources. And at the beginning of the game, you just put 2 random ones on there, and then throughout the rest of the game, you'll be adding them on there. But if you play the Gray Merchant, you can gain a Gray Resource. If you play the reverse, you can heal 1 on your damage track, and then deal 1 damage to your opponent. And then finally, this other card that's out here, for example, the Intergalactic, what this means, if you get this card and put it down, your opponent now has to colonize 8 planets. Now usually, another goal to win is if you colonize 7 planets, but this makes the opponent's goal a little bit higher, making it more difficult for them to win the game. So those are just some examples of the ships that are in play that you can get. Some more, if you just want to glance through those and look at the artwork. Got the Miners card, Tech Win, Black Merchant, and then you can see the abilities are different. Like this says you can copy the action of any of those cards. This you can heal. You know, they're pretty self-explanatory once you get the hang of what the different iconography means. But there's a good variety of ships and abilities in that deck. Once the player who plays the A card gets a ship, and if neither opponent had their action canceled by the other card being played, or if just one, or whatever, next you have the opportunity to colonize a planet. And these are the planets down here. And the cost is this right here. So you would have to pay a black and a white resource to colonize this Sneery-6X. And the way the planets work is, you put them down in front of you, and then you can use the ability anytime. It's a one-time use ability, but you don't have to use it immediately. And so, for example, what this means is if you go down 1 on your technology track, you can attack your opponent 2 times, deal 2 damage to them. And so again, that's good to lay down, keep in front of you, and use at any point, and then once you've used it, you flip it over. Again, the first player to colonize 7 planets wins the game. In addition, of course, to either blowing up your opponent or advancing to the number 7 on the technology track. Some other planets down here. This one lets you go up on the technology track, and this one lets you convert a gray resource to any resource of your choice. And then if you want to look through the rest here, you can see colonize another planet at a cost of -2. This is some trading, picking up resources, all kinds of different abilities that these planets have once you colonize them. Finally, there are some instances in the game where you need a tiebreaker. For instance, the order of resolving the actions. Normally, when you play down the cards, the turn order is determined by the letter. So if player 1 plays an A down and player 2 plays down a C, A would go before C. But if both players play A, there's a tiebreaker card. And that's given out another phase of the game. But that's what this is. This is the tiebreaker card, and you just flip it over to who has the tiebreaker ability for that round.
All right, now that you have seen some elements of the game, which we will say, just like we say with a lot of Kickstarter reviews of this is not final product, of what you just saw in our component walkthrough. So you've seen a little bit, know a little bit about the gameplay. So let's get into our discussion points about it.
Let's do it.
So first of all, since you just looked at it, the design, I think is really cool.
It is. It's a great looking game. Even if it's not finished, I think that this is a pretty good idea of what the final product's going to be.
Definitely.
And I love the design. How would you describe it?
I'd say it really makes me think of, the sci-fi futuristic artwork from television, movies, video games of the 80s. I'm getting really amped up for like Stranger Things coming up.
Yes.
And so that's what I'm thinking about right now is those video games and like even the cover of their D&D book, like those kinds of things. That's what this artwork kind of conjures to mind. And I want that kind of music playing while I play this game. That would be my ambiance in the background, would be like an 80s sci-fi
I can hear
soundtrack.
it now. While we're playing, yeah.
You know?
Yep, I got it.
Exactly. Like
that'd be really cool.
Even I feel like some of these, the artwork on some of these cards, oops, sorry, a little card, could be like the cover for a Choose Your Own Adventure book, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that looks just like a Choose Your Own
I
Adventure
agree.
book.
Yeah.
Possibly even that could be a scene that was cut from Star Wars.
I can see that, totally, yeah.
So I really like that style. It's a lot of fun, and I think that goes really well with the title.
It does. It fits well. Well, not only is it that, it fits well with the game, makes the game feel that style too. It's a great mashup of the artwork and the style of the game. But you're right, the title, I mean...
It sounds like an 80s sci-fi film.
It does. And it's like, how could you turn down a play of a game called Before the Earth Explodes?
Which, now that I think about it, it's like, is that a movie that Mystery Science Theater 3000... covered?
That would be awesome. It sounds like one that they would do.
Yeah.
But yeah, how can you turn out? It's Before the Earth Explodes. I mean, that's really cool.
Very cool.
One positive I think to the game is it's got a pretty quick setup time.
Definitely.
You can get this thing on the table in less than 5 minutes and get going. So I really appreciated that. And to go along with that, I would say the gameplay. It's pretty quick too.
Oh yeah, I think it's very cut and dried. It's very clear of what you're supposed to be doing.
Right, and it's like I'd say 20 minutes is the most out of all the plays that we did. I don't think we ever went over 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So it really does fit that filler category nicely, as Green Couch Games has that backlog of games that fit that. This is a great addition to that, and especially for a 2-player game. Sometimes you get those 2-player games that have so much of a back and forth tug of war that they tend to drag out, but this doesn't.
Yeah, I think so.
So I really appreciate that too. And what did you think about the gameplay, like how to play about it?
It's very straightforward. I don't think it leaves you guessing about, so what do I do if I'm going to do this? I think it's very easy to determine what's going to be happening.
Easy to comprehend. Cool. What I like is that there's an element of intuition, right? So,
my goodness.
So knowing your opponent definitely helps or hurts you.
Right, because as a married couple playing this game, the first game I was doing really good
of being able to
determining what you were going to be doing, so I aha, I'm one step ahead of you.
And cancel my action.
Yes. But after that, he was on to me.
I was thinking her, thinking me. So she thinks I'm going to do this, so I'm going to play this one instead.
Oh boy, that really changed things.
And then from then on, you just never knew which way either of us are thinking.
Unpredictable at that point.
So it can help you to know what they're going to do, but like I said, it can be hurtful to try to anticipate what they're doing, and then go the wrong way. I will say that I do wish that there were one or two more action cards. You've got A, B, C, and D. So I think, at least for me, it would have been nice to add one or two more things to do. I don't know. I mean, that would probably completely change the game.
Well, especially because one of those cards, the action is to perform the action of a different card.
And if no one plays that, then it's wasted. So, there would be a little bit more variety there if there was one or two other action cards. But I understand that could completely change the game. But just for me, like for variety's sake, it did get kind of, maybe if there was just one other one I could play.
Maybe if there was an expansion that allowed you to go up to 4 players, add some more cards into your hand.
Interesting thought.
Just an idea.
So, how do you feel about the element of conflict in this game?
Well, so yeah, you're definitely head to head on this. I don't feel like it's a malicious kind of thing in this. I don't know what else to say.
Well, it's conflict heavy, right?
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much the game. There's never really a lot of I'm gonna do my own thing, you do your own thing.
Maybe not a lot. I think you kind of start out that way though, because you have to build up. Because in order to do anything, you have to get those elements out of those mines.
Right.
And if you get low on elements, you can't do anything. You've got to get those elements. So at some point, you have to go, okay, forget you. I need to build this up first in order to colonize, in order to increase my technology. I need to get those things first. So there is a point where it's like, I'm hold up, let me get some of this first.
But a lot of that, in order to do that, you do have to play those cards that either cancel what your opponent's doing or can attack them, harm them. So there is that, but a lot of it is pretty conflict heavy. So just be aware of that. And with that, there are lots of opportunities to gain that winning status. There are lots of avenues for winning. There's the one about going up to the top of the technology track. Thank you. And then of course just destroying your opponent, colonizing 7 planets. So
and then there's also cards in there. If you can colonize planets that change your winning condition or change your opponent's winning condition, making it easier for you or making it more difficult for them.
Right.
Like making you have to colonize one more planet.
Yeah, the ship cards. Yeah.
Oh, they're ships. I'm sorry.
That's
You're
right.
Or making you have to go less on your technology track.
What was the one you had? It was the one about all of the different resources. You had, what was it, 20?
Yep, I just had to have 12. 12? I think. Resources in the pool.
There was a completely different direction.
Yep.
And so what I like is that your strategy can really change, has to change on the fly.
And your opponent needs to be paying attention to what it is.
Right, because you could be saying, I'm really going to work on colonizing those 7 planets, but if your opponent's quicker at, going up on that technology track, no, you've got to switch what you're doing and maybe go attack them some.
Well, and again, because those are ships, you may not be concentrating on going for ships, but at the same time, some of those ships come up that make the opponent's winning condition more difficult, and you certainly don't want them to get it.
Right.
So then you have to go for it, and you kind of have to abandon what you were doing, and I got to go get that ship.
Yeah. Cool.
It's you have to be on your toes.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that. So, all that being said, Before the Earth Explodes successfully fits a head-to-head 2-player game with conflict, the potential for evolving strategies, and an element of intuition into a tight, enjoyable 20-minute filler experience.
If you enjoy racing to reach an objective, all the while trying to thwart your opponent from reaching theirs, then Before the Earth Explodes is for you. It's a great-looking game that does an excellent job of putting an intriguing twist on the rock, paper, scissors mechanism. So much so that you don't even realize that's what you're doing.
Well, if you don't like conflict or directly attacking your opponents in your games, then this probably isn't for you. There's no getting around that. But for everyone else, you can expect a fun time trying to intuit what your opponent is going to do and beat them to claiming the glory for saving humanity.
Thanks so much for watching. Check out more reviews, blogs, and our podcast on our website, marriedwithbg.com.